Welcome to the Gallery's Curator series. My name is McClean and I'm the Gallery Manager and Curator here at the Arts University. Today I'm with Jennifer Anyan, the Curator from the Design, Disruption and Divergence exhibition we are currently hosting at the Gallery. So Jennifer, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your role here at the Arts University?
Thank you for having me. I'm the Director of the School of Arts, Media and Creative Industries Management, also an artist and associate professor, and I joined AUB in June 2024.
Jennifer, can I ask you, where did the title of the exhibition come from? What was your thinking behind that?
The title Design, Disruption, Divergence came from exploring how generative AI is starting to shift creative practice in different ways. And it was really a stimulus to understand through looking at a range of practice from artists that are connected to AUB in some way and using generative AI to really investigate how their use of generative AI tools is making change within their practice. So are they using it for a design method? Is it creating a diversion? Or is it disrupting outcomes or disrupting process or disrupting their thinking in some way?
Why was the artist's reflective statement so important to this exhibition? I know you've slightly touched on it there, but why? There was a really strong emphasis when we were working on this project about the artist's statement. What were you trying to find for that? What you wanted, or what did you want the artist to say through that statement and their practice? Can you kind of cover that for me, please?
There's a lot of fear at the moment in the creative industries about generative AI and particularly the potential for it to take over particular creative processes or even some roles. And what I wanted to do with the exhibition was create a safe space as a university to engage in dialogue about what was happening, what the potential was, what the possibilities are, what the risks are. And a way of doing that was to give the artists involved in the exhibition prompts to be able to reflect on the impact of using generative AI in their working methods and to be able to start to kind of interrogate that space and interrogate what it might mean for an artist, what it means to use generative AI as a tool, and how it might be a method rather than something we think of as a particular outcome.
On that generalization of AI, how is generative AI impacting artist practice right across the globe and today? I know you mentioned it in this exhibition, but from a much bigger perspective, can you maybe give us your views on that and your experience of that?
I mean, it's impacting practice in a multitude of ways. So, you know, we're seeing more and more people be able to explore how generative AI can be used to create images, can be used to create musical pieces or pieces of film or animation in different ways. And so there's a kind of democracy to it. But there's also a sort of digital literacy and a digital privilege that's required to be able to access these tools. We're seeing some really innovative practice. We're seeing some practice that is, you know, really challenging norms and ethics. For example, Jake Alwez's work at the V&A looking at drag and bias within AI. And, you know, we've got people that are using it as an interesting tool, and we've got people that are using it as a shortcut and everything in between. So it's a technology that is shifting all the time. And I think, you know, many practitioners are really just beginning to grasp the opportunity, the possibility, but also understand what limitations and risks might be.
Yeah. Just picking up on that point, there in January, the government released that they would be bringing in AI classroom assistants, which is quite timely because this exhibition opened in February. And then there was a networking event we had last week with Spark about co-curate. And I was talking to one of the colleagues there, and he came from a medical science profession. And he was saying how AI had fantastic strides in innovation in the fact how it can pick up in different diseases the human doctor can't. So you're saying about the creative practice, but AI is having a massive influence and impact on sciences globally. So it's interesting how the two kind of the different societies, education, science is coming through the conversation of education and creativity. So it's kind of an interesting, wider conversation for everybody, isn't it, really?
Yeah, and I think what those tools do is enable opportunities for collaboration across disciplines, which, is a really interesting space and opportunity there.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the AUB's, the Arts University's AI agenda? Because I know you are involved in the AI group. So it'd be really interesting for our listeners to hear about what's AUB's kind of steps forward in that area.
So like many universities, we are taking the consideration of AI within our curriculum very seriously. And so there has been a working group established at AUB to look at the impact of AI within learning and teaching since before I joined even. And what they've done is implement a framework and a policy in order to be able to integrate the use of AI within our curriculum and to support students in understanding how to use AI, but not only what the opportunities are, but how to use it ethically, how to use it safely, how to protect their data, and how to use it as a tool that can enhance opportunities for them rather than create shortcuts or be used in ways that might minimise their learning.
I know you've worked very closely with Penelope Norman and Cameron Wilson on their installation, the Shudu installation, which is a major part of this exhibition. So can you tell me a little bit more about Cameron's work in Shudu and the work Penny's doing? And I also believe she's now our first AI digital patron. So can you tell me a little bit more about Shudu, that project, that collaboration, and how AUB's move forward with the industry patronship?
Shudu is the creation of Cameron James Wilson.
I believe he's alumni, isn't he?
He is alumni. And Shudu is considered to be one of the world's first virtual supermodels. Right. She was originally created using Unreal Engine and has developed over time using different types of generative AI software, that have both developed her visual presence and very recently has been used to enable Shudu to talk.
Well, yeah.
And she is the first virtual patron for AUB. So we'll be working with Cameron and Shudu to explore opportunities for training Shudu around what we do as an institution and being able to represent us and help us explore creative projects in different ways.
Jennifer, thank you so much for that really insightful overview of the exhibition, and thank you for joining us today.